There's a prison up in northern Michigan that most people in this state will never see. It's called the North Lake Processing Center in Baldwin, and right now more than 1,400 immigrants are locked up inside, hundreds of miles away from their families and local communities. Also, President Donald Trump can crank up deportations, and a private prison company can make money off of every extra day they're being held. This is So What Michigan, where we break down the cruelty behind the headlines, especially when it's happening in our own backyard. Here's the deal. North Lake used to be a federal prison. Local residents fought to shut it down. They succeeded. But in June, Trump's Immigration and Customs Enforcement signed a 2-year contract with Geo Group, a for-profit prison company, and reopened it as an immigrant detention center. The capacity? About 1,800 people. It's now the largest ICE detention facility in the entire Midwest, run by a corporation that gets paid per bed, per day, all while Trump's big, beautiful budget pours tens of billions of new dollars into immigration enforcement and detention. Earlier this month, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who sits on the House Oversight Committee, went inside North Lake. Her office had been flooded with reports about frigid temperatures, bad food, lockdowns, and people struggling to see lawyers or doctors. So she went to see it herself, and here's how she described what she walked into.
When I walked through those hallways, I just want you all to know there was a lot of fear. I could feel it. I mean, they didn't know who I was, but they saw folks walking through all white flooring. And you can see they're keeping their heads down. They're scared.
And remember, those people, our neighbors, aren't serving criminal sentences. Most of them have no criminal records. They're all being held in civil immigration detention while the Trump administration tries to deport them. Inside, the picture is bleak. Tlaib said officials tidied up for her visit, but family members and advocates say people detained there have been stuck in prolonged lockdowns, sometimes for hours. They say detainees aren't allowed to eat in the dining hall anymore. Food is brought straight to their cells, and they report ice-cold temperatures, with people trying to sleep in jackets and under piles of thin blankets. Tlaib said she was told there have also been multiple suicide attempts inside North Lake, including one just 2 weeks before her visit, while more than 1,400 people are crammed into a prison in the woods with just one doctor on staff. And for many, it's their first time behind bars. And here's the part most Michiganders never see. A lot of those people housed at North Lake aren't strangers who crossed over the border last week. They're parents and spouses of U.S. citizens, high school graduates, and longtime residents who've lived here for more than a decade. Over the summer, the Trump administration rewrote the rules to make most of these immigrants ineligible for bond, which means they can be locked up for months while their cases drag on. In response, lawyers in Michigan have filed hundreds of emergency petitions in federal court, and judges have been forcing ICE to give people bond hearings and questioning why so many were arrested in the first place. One case could reportedly free more than 600 people whose arrests violated a previous settlement, including nearly 200 now being held in Michigan. But meanwhile, they sit far from home, cut off from their families, and under constant pressure to sign voluntary departure papers and just give up. When I asked Tlaib about what North Lake tells us about ICE and Trump's immigration agenda, she didn't mince words.
So for Michiganders, know that this is an agency where when we say abolish ICE, myself and so many of us that ran, is because we've experienced this kind of unlawful activity for years. But now more than ever, President Trump and the administration now has really let loose and said, go ahead and do it publicly. Do it in their faces, do it in the way that you've always been doing it, but do it even more.
North Lake is what that looks like in real life. A remote warehouse where a for-profit prison company gets paid to hold our neighbors in dehumanizing conditions for as long as possible. The one thing the Trump administration and Geo Group didn't count on, Michiganders aren't just looking away. This summer, about 100 people gathered outside North Lake to protest reopening the prison, and groups like No Detention Centers in Michigan are still organizing rallies, documenting alleged abuses, and helping families stay together to fight their cases in court. And now, members of Congress like Tlaib are using their oversight power to go inside for themselves, demand answers, and push for releases, while judges in Michigan and across the country start to put the legal brakes on Trump's mass detention machine. So what? Well, a for-profit prison in northern Michigan is being used as part of Trump's deportation agenda, and it's stocked with our neighbors, funded with our tax dollars, and shielded from public view by barbed wire and a 3-hour drive up north. If you didn't know North Lake existed before today, you do now. And if you don't like the idea of northern Michigan being turned into a for-profit immigrant prison camp, then it's worth paying attention to what happens in Baldwin next. Hit follow. I'll keep connecting the dots, and I'll keep you posted on where this all goes from here.